Hello, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am looking at England's squad for their match against Japan this weekend. My immediate reaction, the team news has just come in and Eddie Jones has made a few changes from that defeat to Argentina. Will it be enough to placate the England fans? I think probably not, but I'll give you my views on the team. Remember, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, like the video and drop a comment down below. What do you make of Eddie Jones's team selection for the match against Japan this weekend? All right, let's get into it. So there are 5 changes, I think it is, for England. Sam Simmonds, Jack Van Poortvliet, they both come in. Dave Ribbans is going to make his debut in the second row, replacing his teammate Alex Coles. And then Guy Porter comes in for Manu Tuolangi in the centre. And Johnny May comes in on the wing in place of Joe Thokiner-Singer. That's only 22 days, by the way, after Johnny May his elbow. That is extraordinary, but that is the team news. So outside of those players that I mentioned that come in, Freddie Stewart at fullback, Jack Noel on one wing, Porter's going to partner Farrell, who is at inside centre. You've then got Smith at number 10, Van Poortvliet, as I say, at 9, and Johnny May on a wing. Genge, Cowan, Dickey, Sinclair, Ribbans, Hill, Atoje, Curry and Sam Simmonds. That is the England team for Japan. And the immediate reaction to this is it's a lot less physicality from England. You look at Thokiner-Singer, you look at Manu Tuolangi, you look at Billy Vunipola and those guys dropping out of the side. England against Argentina knew that they needed the physicality to try and match Argentina. Now you could argue that actually they got that wrong. They were too focused on the physicality and it meant that actually they played into Argentina's hands, because I thought, having been at Twickenham, that the physicality Argentina brought to the game was actually really, really impressive. They matched England, particularly that back row. They're so physical, they put in so many dominant hits, and so the physical side of the game perhaps didn't particularly work well for England. So coming into the match against Japan, you know that Japan are not going to be as physical as the Pumas. That's not necessarily their game. So England have given them some options which doesn't have as much physicality in the starting side, but you are going to see it coming off the bench. So for example, if you look at the England bench with Tuolangi coming off the bench, with Mako Vunipola and Billy Vunipola both coming off the bench as well, look, you've got a hell of a lot of power coming in there, and perhaps they're going to look to try and wear Japan down and then have the power coming off the bench. I'm glad to see Jack Van Poortvliet start. He had an immediate impact when he came on inside the first 30 seconds coming off the bench, scoring a try, getting England back into the game. He's been so impressive since he made his debut in Australia. Ben Youngs is still on the bench. I know a lot of England fans aren't going to be happy to see him there, and I think they've got a point at this stage. Ben Youngs was really poor against Argentina. I'm just not sure that he still quite has that zip you want from your scrum half. Yes, he's really, really experienced, so if he's coming onto the pitch trying to close a game out, I can understand some of the qualities he brings, but overall I just don't quite get it. I'd like to see it be Jack Van Poortvliet and then another 9, whether it's Mitchell from Northampton. I know Northampton fans are clamouring for their scrum half to be given an opportunity, or someone like Rafi Quirk as and when he's fit. I think England have better options at 9, but I'm pleased to see Jack Van Poortvliet start, and I think we'll see a difference in the attacking game because of that. I think it will be quicker, it will be zippier, they'll look to move the ball more, it won't just be about smashing it up. So hopefully we see a more entertaining game as well. Outside of that as well, you've obviously got Sam Simmonds. Sam Simmonds coming in at number 8, as I've already said, doesn't necessarily have the power of Vunipola, but he is really, really explosive. I think perhaps it adds a little bit more dynamism into that England back row and into that forward pack, where they were maybe lacking a little bit of that against Argentina. It was a little bit static. The game didn't have much energy to it. Simmonds is a bit of a live wire. He's a bit of a spark that in terms of carrying, he's going to give something for England moving forward, which is just a little bit different. And I'm pleased to see him get more of an opportunity. There were quite a few of us that suspected that Sam Simmonds' time with England was maybe over. He didn't really seem to have too many opportunities. So glad to see him in there, in that back row as the number 8. And hopefully he has a really good game. Dave Ribbans is an interesting one as well, coming in for Alex Coles. Alex Coles, I thought, had an okay game against Argentina, and that's probably being kind. He made a line break at one point, but he had a little bit of trouble under the restarts in the first half. He wasn't alone in that, but that meant England were on the back foot. They kept giving away territory and possession. And I still think, and I've said it on the channel before, that the second row position for England is an area where there is an opportunity for someone to stick their hand up for selection. I think at the World Cup, if everyone's fit, Itoje and Johnny Hill will be the second rows, even though Itoje's lining up at 6 at the moment. I think there's an opportunity for someone to put their hand up to be the guy that comes off the bench. Is it going to be Dave Ribbons? Alex Coles perhaps didn't quite take his opportunity. I still think that's a position where England, having been a real position of strength in the past, all of a sudden now are looking at it and they perhaps need someone to stick their hand up for selection. And that's exactly what Eddie Jones wants to happen. He said in interviews before, he wants someone to just force their way into the squad, be so good that Eddie Jones feels he has to pick them. The second row is an opportunity there. On the wing, we've got Johnny May. I mentioned that dislocated elbow 22 days ago. That's absolutely extraordinary. What a comeback for him. I'm not entirely convinced by Johnny May anymore. He's replaced Joe Thokonasinga, who I also think we haven't been convinced by at international level. I thought Thokonasinga took his try really well against Argentina, but the jury is still out in terms of him as a long-term option for England. Johnny May, at one point in time, was one of the first names on the team sheet for England. The speed he had, how good he was under the high ball. I don't know, Gloucester fans, you can tell me as well, but what's his form been like recently? I don't think it's warranted necessarily him being in that squad. If we are looking at that back three, you've got Stewart at fullback, Noel on one wing, and then May's coming in on the other. Okay, May does offer more pace, and England needed that in their back three, because when Thokonasinga was part of that back three, it wasn't necessarily the quickest. But are there better options there, whether it be a Radwan, Arundel? I don't know whether he's quite fit yet. But I just wonder, Caden Murley I'd have liked to have seen given an opportunity. Again, it's not a selection that necessarily inspires me for Johnny May. I think we know what he can do, but I think there are other options that personally I would have liked to have seen in there. Final one for Guy Porter. That's a really interesting selection, particularly with Tuolangi being named on the bench instead. I mean, the centres for England have been an issue for so long. We've always been reliant on Manu Tuolangi. Porter's been really impressive in the Premiership, so I'm excited to see how he'll go. My gut instinct is he's not quite at that level yet, which I think Leicester fans won't be particularly pleased with me saying. But let's wait and see. Let's see what those centres and what that attacking shape for England looks like. We didn't really see it against Argentina because it was never going to be that kind of game. The conditions weren't great, or certainly weren't great before kickoff. It was very slippery. Argentina, keep it tight defensively, bring that physicality. So it was never going to be, I think, Smith, Farrell, Tuolangi pulling the strings, getting everyone in play. I think Japan on the weekend, conditions dependent, it will be more of an opportunity for us to try and see England's attacking game develop. It's desperately needs to develop because it's been rubbish pretty much since 2019. I know England won a Six Nations and they won an Autumn Nations Cup or whatever it was called during COVID, but it wasn't exactly playing great attacking rugby. So we need to see more from England from an attacking sense. Is this team going to do it? Not sure about Johnny May, not sure about Porter. Van Portfleet I like. I think he will get the attack moving a bit more. So jury's still out, but let's wait and see. That's kind of my thoughts on it. My gut instinct is the reaction to this is going to be uninspired. Want to see a lot more players like Mitchell or Murley and other names in that England team. But let me know in the comments down below, what do you make of Eddie Jones's latest selection? And remember, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.